Hello again, I am Blunty, and it is time to review the PlayStation Move. You've seen my unboxing, you've seen my preview where I explain how the technology works. If you haven't, you can. The links are attached to this video, of course. But this is a video that tells you whether or not I think it's actually worth buying one of these things. First up, let's talk about the hardware itself, the controller. It feels really nice in the hand. It's got that sort of lovely sweeping curve. It is designed to fit in your hand lovely. Compare this to the Wiimote, which is just a brick with a bit chipped out of the end. It's a world of difference when it comes to how comfortable it is. Now, talking about the buttons, I've heard some people in previous and stuff say these buttons are a bit stiff. They are a bit stiff compared to the six-axis controller, which has those spongy analog buttons. These are just straight out and out digital buttons, but I've had no problem at all hitting them in game. I mean, they depress really easily. They're a solid click, and you know, they're small, but they're easy to find with your thumb because they sit on a curved surface, so you can find them nice and easy. Also worth noting is the start and select buttons are around the side of the controller, which are not in easy reach when you're holding it like normal. You actually have to let go of some of the controls and move your hand around the remote, like move the remote in your hand to actually get to them. But they're not used during gameplay. They're used when you had to, you know, pause and you find a quiet point in the game to pause in anyway, and they're used to, you know, hold them both down to recalibrate in some games and things like that. So that's, some people have complained about that, and it is kind of a poor design, but I'd rather have them there and out of my way so I don't accidentally press them while I'm playing than have them within easy reach where I could accidentally hit them while playing. Your big button in the middle there, let's see if I can get the light to hit it properly, sits right under your thumb in most games, and that's your main action button combined with the trigger there, and they sit exactly where they need to be for the control to work. So I like the hardware, it feels good, it works good. On the negative side of things, the quality of the of the camera in the PlayStation Eye is atrocious. It is just a shockingly cheap lens and sensor setup in there. I'm sure it does the job for what it needs to do when it's sort of tracking this thing. It seems to work fine. But in those games where it takes a picture of you, either to use as an avatar or during mid-game, I mean, you've seen that done with the Microsoft Kinect when you're up in the air and it takes a picture. There are a couple of games that take picture mid-game, like Kung Fu Rider, which is a ridiculously stupid game where you're hurtling down a street on an office chair or something like that. It's a lot of fun to play, very wacky. But when you fall off in that game, it takes a picture of you, and the quality of the camera just looks atrocious. I mean, why is it showing you those pictures when they just look so bad? You know, I turned on all the lights and stuff. It's just grainy and horrible and atrocious. It must have cost them all the 45 cents or something to put that sensor and lens in there. It's horrible. I tell you that one thing that did piss me off about the setup is the cable for the iToy camera is kind of heavy. So when I was trying to position the camera, I'd go, hey, the camera's positioned perfectly, and then the cable would sort of drag it off. The cable is heavy and stiff and annoying, but once you get the camera set up where you need it to be and you've got the, you know, the cable strapped down or stapled to the bloody wall to keep it in place or whatever you need to do, it works all right. But that was just an annoyance when I was going through the setup procedure. That cable is so thick and heavy it tends to drag the camera around, and it's a design flaw. Another kind of negative thing, I mean, it's negative for some people if you're not terribly fit like me, and I'm fit enough, but I'm not, you know, sporting fit, is you will ache. Like the first night with my Wii, I played it for hours on end. I woke up the next morning and go, oh, my arm has dropped off and someone's replaced it with a piece of lead that's on fire. It's, you get quite sore. But, you know, a few days of those gladiatorial battles and I'm feeling kind of good. Something of interest that I have noted in some games in the menu screens or in-game when they're trying to emulate a pointer or a mouse, not all of the software actually tracks the ball to do that, which seems absurd. I mean, when I was playing Ruse, for example, that's an RTS game, and RTS games really aren't my thing usually, but I gave it a go for the sake of having to, you know, play everything that I have to get as big a broader sample as I can of gameplay with the PlayStation Move. But it's for a real-time strategy game, so you've got to select things and you move it about with the mouse, but it doesn't track with the light, which seems ridiculous to me. That has to be the most accurate way to figure out where it is. No, you can cover that up and it still works perfectly fine. It uses the gyroscope, so it, like in a lot of Wii games, again, it feels kind of spongy and sort of soft. I mean, you do that and the control and the reticle, the pointer on screen goes, yeah. It feels laggy, it feels sloppy, it feels awkward. I don't understand why they don't track that and go, quicker. But that's not a problem with the Move hardware itself. That's a problem with how that specific game chose to implement the controllers, and that's going to be a big defining thing here, because it's all well and good to have brilliant hardware, and this is brilliant hardware. The build quality is absolutely rock solid. I mean, you can squeeze and twist this thing, it doesn't creak, everything fits together perfectly. It's really, really nice fit and finish, and really nice industrial design on that, but it's the games where it all counts. I mean, you don't buy this thing to sit it on the shelf and go, hey, that's a nice looking piece of kit. You buy this thing to play games with. So what are the games like? Are they fun? The short answer to that is yes, they're fun. First up, we've got Sports Champions, which is clearly inspired by similar games on the Wii. I mean, if you've got a motion controller, the first thing you're going to do is incorporate that kind of sporting game, because that's sort of a natural thing to do with a controller like this that just doesn't feel the same when you're using a standard thumbsticks controller. I mean, that's an obvious thing, an easy thing to do, and it's a party game. You can get a whole bunch of people, and they're short, quick games, and it's ideal for this kind of to show it off, basically. Now, I nearly said Wii Sports. Sports Champions is fun. You've got a whole bunch of different sporting games there, and as a testament to the accuracy and response time of this controller, I suck just as bad playing ping pong on the PlayStation Move as I do in real life. I suck exactly the same amount. So that should tell you something about how good this thing. I really, really do enjoy the archery one, and there's a gladiatorial one where you've got a sword and a shield, and you can. I just have heaps and heaps and heaps of fun playing that. That's my favourite game out of all the Sports Champions games that are sitting on that disc, and I've played that again and again and again and again, and it actually gets really, really challenging. Now, I did play this also at a PR launch event for the PlayStation Move last week. They only supplied me with one controller, but at the event I was using two of these controllers with the balls on top, and it played a lot better with two than it does with one. And I found that with a lot of the games that I've been playing, that you can play them with one, and it works perfectly fine with one, but it feels more natural, it feels more engaging, it feels more fun and better if you got two of these, which ups the expense a little bit. But if you want your games to be as fun as completely possible, then buy two. Like, I'm going to pick up a second one. Now, while we're talking about secondary controllers, just skipping off the Sports Champions for a second, you can buy the navigation controller, which is a dedicated thing. It's got a thumbstick on it. I haven't used one of those. I haven't played with one of those. I didn't get one of those, so I can't really comment on that. But if it's built like this, it's probably going to be pretty good. But in Ruse, for example, you do have to have that. You can actually use the controller, the 6-axis controller, and hold it in one hand and use the thumbstick and your trigger buttons and all that sort of stuff in game if you don't have the secondary navigation controller thing, and it works fine. It feels a little awkward, the controller is obviously designed to be held with two hands, so it feels a bit strange holding it with one hand, but it does work perfectly fine, and I've had no issues using it in game. The other disc full of a bunch of little mini games like Sports Champions is Start the Party, another disc which is, well, it's not so heavily inspired by the Wii. It's inspired by a lot of the earlier PlayStation 2 iToy games, and it's really, really fun. I mean, it's ridiculous, it's stupid, and they're silly little games, but you do get drawn into them, particularly if you're playing with friends. If you're playing alone, it makes, it's a little weird, but if you've got a group of friends, they are hilarious fun to play, because you take turns to compete against each other. It's really, really fun, and it's that particular software is a really interesting way to show off the accuracy of this controller, because it actually displays you on screen via the camera and puts you into the game, a lot like the other iToy games used to do. So you can see exactly how accurate the controller is. I mean, you can see some footage here of me playing, and you can see it's tracking it one-to-one. It's got that augmented reality thing, so it sticks a thing on the end of your remote, whatever you're doing in-game, like a hook or a shaving thing or whatever you're doing in-game. It sort of puts that on the end, and it's really quite fascinating to see how quickly and how accurately that actually tracks your movements, and it's a good tech demo for showing off the capabilities of the Move and giving you an idea of the potential. I mean, when third parties get their big games out, more and more people have thought about how to use this in game. I mean, the Wii games have got better and better and better, and the PlayStation Move games are going to get better and better and better and more interesting as well. Now, two games that I did not get in my press pack that I wish I had, because I played them at the press event and I loved them to bits. In fact, they were the favourite games that I've played so far. Out of all the games on Move that I've tried so far, these are the games I want to be playing, and they are Time Crisis and The Shoot, and both of these gun games where you point at the screen, you go pew 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 pew, and shoot things, and they are amazingly fun. Time Crisis, I played the arcade for hours on end, coins and coins and coins and coins, just machine gobbling up all my money as I played Time Crisis, and I loved it. And I played this at the event, and it was awesome. And the thing I like best, one of the other things I'm going to buy as soon as they're launched, is the gun controller snap-in device thing. I forget what they call it, but here's a picture of it. But it's really, really cool. Aside from looking like a 1950s sort of sci-fi ray gun kind of attachment, which I love the look of this thing, it looks really cool. But the most important thing is it feels really, really comfortable in your hand. Again, like this thing on its own, it's whoever they've got designing the ergonomics of the PlayStation stuff right now, keep them, pay them double what they're earning now, because they're doing a really excellent job. Now, the other one I played was The Fight, which I also didn't get a copy of. I played this at the event, and that was the boxing one, basically. It wasn't Final Code, so it was a bit laggier than it should be, but it is amazing fun. And compared to the Wii boxing, I mean, and again, you have to compare it with the Wii, because it is so similar to the Wii, and the Wii has its own boxing game too, and this is a fighting game. So to compare them directly, it's like a completely different world. I mean, the accuracy of these compared to trying to do the Wii boxing thing, which is just sloppy as hell and awful and unresponsive, and you do that and your character might punch themselves in the nuts or something. It was ridiculous. But with The Fight, is brilliant, and that's another one I'm going to be playing and playing and playing. And like Sports Champions, when I'm playing the gladiatorial one, I can see me just pouring sweat, shirtless in my own home playing a video game. How often do you get to do that? I mean, just work up a really decent sweat, jumping around and swiping, because you cannot cheat this like you can with the Wii, where you can just do little wrist flicks. You have to do the full body motions. So you do get a workout in those more active games, and it's brilliant. I mean, there have been several times I've had to strip off my shirt and I'm pouring sweat and having the time of my life playing these games. And that's the bottom line about all this. No matter how good the hardware is, it's about the games. And with games like The Shoot, with games like Time Crisis, with the Fight game, with that gladiatorial one, I'm going to go nuts for this thing. It really is a lot of fun. So my buying advice to you is, yes, buy one of these at launch, because when that killer app, that huge game that you absolutely need, you go, oh, that's why I need the PlayStation Move. I cannot not have the PlayStation Move because that game is coming out. It's better to have the hardware now than having to buy that and the game at a later date, is my thinking. But I like it. I liked it more than I thought it would, to be honest. Because, to be honest, I don't play my Wii that much. I want to like the Wii because it's Nintendo. I grew up as a Nintendo boy. I wanted to be excited about Nintendo, but it's just not there. The software isn't that compelling. There's no... I mean, there are a few really good games, but there are more good games on the other consoles, and that's where I spend most of my time playing. So I was expecting to just go, hey, yeah, that's fun, it works, but I'm probably not going to use it that much myself, but I'll tell other people about how it works so they can make up their own mind. But, like playing The Shoot and stuff like that, I can already tell I'm going to be spending a lot more time with the PlayStation Move than I ever have done with my Wii. And I've owned the Wii since launch night. I mean, I went to the midnight launch. This is leaps and bounds better than the Wii. It is way more filled with potential, especially given the power of the PlayStation 3. It's launching pretty much immediately after this video goes up, if I sort of put it up as planned. So I'll catch you next time. Thanks for watching. I am Blunty, and I did it backwards. I'm Blunty. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time. Yeah,